Hello everyone, my name is John. I am the Wood Studio Manager at the NC State Craft Center. Today I'm going to talk to you about a project that I did. As you can see in this photo right here, this is a shelving unit. This is actually floor mounted and was purchased from IKEA quite a while ago. Nothing against IKEA, but the material that this is made out of is particle board, and over time it has rotted away. So some of the shelves broke, and I really just wanted a new one. So I like the shape and size, so I stuck with that. And I actually made it out of solid red oak, which is a fairly inexpensive material. And as you can see here, it's pretty much the same, just the shelves are in a different location. Now with this one, I do plan to mount to the wall, just because we like our floor space. So as you can see right here, I'll zoom in a little bit, it's kind of difficult with this image, but there's a bar in the back, which I will use to mount to the wall. I'll get to that later. So just to jump into the building process and how I'm going to do it, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the differences and such like that. So with this project, again, I wanted it to be similar shapes. As you can see between the two images, they are roughly the same, about 42, 43 inches tall. So I'll go ahead and draw that out roughly. And please forgive me for my amazing drawing skills here. All right, so the height of it was 42 inches. The width of it was roughly 13 inches, and the depth of it, I'm no engineer here, is roughly 6 inches. Okay, so with this, I had some material left over from one of my previous projects and went ahead and dived down into it. In my videos to come next week, I'll actually go through and you'll see me mill out the material and use various machines and whatnot. But today I'm just going to talk about how I put it together roughly, and then again in the videos to follow you will see me actually building it. So with this, again, I made it out of red oak, and I decided to actually use dados to attach the shelves to the side panels. Now for you, or for those of you that don't know what a dado is, it can also be called a groove. A lot of us woodworkers, depending on the grain, which is the flow of the wood, I say the flow, but you can, how the wood is orientated, there's different terminologies. So some might say, rip cut for cutting something to width, and a cross cut for cutting something to length. Well, a dado and a groove, a dado is against the grain, similar to a cross cut, and a groove is with the grain, similar to a rip cut in terms of the orientation of the grain. So what that means for the construction here is, if I zoom in right here, basically here's that long piece. It's just a zoom in version. A dado would be cut into it, and this is, and then the shelf would actually lock in. Now there's a couple different reasons why I chose to do this, mainly being that with a shelf, a lot of the weight is being put down on the shelves. Now when it's interlocked in here, okay, and there's weight being put down, the weight is actually transferred into the material going down. Okay, now if I was to make a butt joint, which I'll draw over here, again forgive my drawing skills, okay, and it's not in the wood. This is actually one of the weakest joints, because the end grain, okay, which is the end of the wood, where you can actually see the pores in the material, it really soaks up a lot of the glue and whatnot, and it's actually a very weak joint. So this right here, if I was to put a lot of pressure, this could actually break. Now being locked inside, again, both having the pressure in the wood there, it also has 1, 2, 3 points of glue contact, which more surface area with glue means there's going to be more hold to the material. So again, I made a dado, which I'll get to in probably 2 weeks from now. I'm going to talk about that, about how to set up a dado stack and how to cut dados. But I made a dado cut to interlock all of these shelves, all of these pieces here, again for support and for structural stability. And I'll zoom in here, and you can actually see that you can't see the dado. Now, if basically what I was talking about here, it looks like I did a butt joint, but in fact I actually edge banded the entire front of this to make it have a more clean appearance to it. Now, what edge banding is, and typically edge banding is used for plywood, particle board, basically composite materials that don't look as nice, and you want to put a little thin piece of wood on it so it looks almost like solid wood. And if I was to, let's see, how can I draw this? If I was to look, looking this way at the piece, so here is the side view. Edge banding would just be a really thin, in this case I use 1/4 inch material just because I wanted a lot of durability, but you can get edge banding as thin as a 32nd. Really, it goes on the edge of the material. So again, I use that to hide all those dados and give it a nice appearance. As well as the top here, I used a piece of material on the front to add a little lip. Now I'm going to be mounting this to the wall, and I want to be able to put stuff on top of this, and I don't want that stuff to fall off. So again, I made a lip, which I'll cover later on. Now, more basics about this. I used glue. I pinned it together with brad nails. I used a finish nailer on the front to pin the front edge banding on, so you couldn't really see the nail holes. And that's about it. Now, in terms of finishing and whatnot, this is unfinished. I did sand it up to 220. I don't like sanding. It's going to be just fine with boiled linseed oil on it with 220, and it'll be great. Now, in terms of mounting it to the wall, there's a lot of different ways to mount things. In the past, if I've used a lot of French cleats at the craft center because you can easily attach and detach. We can get into French cleats another day, but I will show you, like a wall anchor, like typically people use for drywall, is something like this. Basically, you drill a hole. This goes into the material, or into the wall. You screw this through the thing you're mounting into the wall, and as this screws in, this actually expands in the drywall and holds material. Now, these are great for a lot of different things. This is going to be something that holds a lot of weight, so I actually use these all the time. These toggle bolts. You can get these really anywhere: Lowe's, Home Depot, Woodcraft, Burke Brothers, anywhere really. And the nice thing is they can hold, where is it on here, up to 265 pounds and 1/2 inch drywall. They can hold a lot of weight, and they're extremely easy to install. This is a 1/4 inch thread right here. You can get them in, I think, 5/16 and 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8. They have a bunch of different sizes. Basically, you just drill a 1/2 inch hole in the wall, basically right there. You stick this through that 1/2 inch hole. You push these pieces of plastic together. This expands, and then I'm not going to do it because I don't want to ruin it, but this little piece right here that can move scrunches up to the drywall. You break this off, and then you just screw this into it, as you can see right here, and it holds a lot of weight. I just like using them again because they're extremely easy, and they can hold a lot of weight. So I'm not worried about what I'm going to put on this shelf when I mount it to the wall. I have used these in the past for lightweight things. They do have a rating for how much weight they can hold on the package. It ranges in a lot of different varieties, and there's also a lot of different anchors out there, but again, these are just the ones I prefer. Again, I will cover mounting this to the wall in another video. This is just the beginning video, just to show you how I turned again, the shelf that I liked the size of it. It had a nice place for it, but as you can see, it got dirty, it started breaking, and I wanted to turn it into something a little bit nicer that's going to last a lot longer and be able to hold a lot more weight. So that concludes this just very basic general video today. Again, in the weeks to come, I'm going to have videos on me, milling the lumber, cutting lumber to length, setting up a dado stack, brad nailers, just some general information. I wouldn't say this is a DIY video. This is just a follow along of me building this video, and maybe why I prefer to use some methods over other methods. So thank you very much, and again, this is Craft Relief.